You've probably noticed that Chinese e-bike brands it seems like they're everywhere right now, and the price tags are often half what you'd expect to pay for a comparable Western brand e-bike. But when you start Googling, you hit a wall of unfamiliar names, confusing specs, and zero context of what any of them actually mean. So that's what this video is for. By the end, you'll have more context on the most popular Chinese e-bike brands, what each brand stands for, and who they're built for, and most importantly, which one actually makes sense for you. Also, and this is important, one of the brands in this video is backed by Tencent, Hill House Capital and Alibaba, and another brand has sold millions and millions of e-bikes all over the world, and another one has a carbon frame that weighs less than most aluminium commuters. None of them are names that most people recognize yet, but I think that is about to change. ENGWE is probably the most recognizable Chinese e-bike brand in Europe right now, and they've built their reputation almost entirely on fat tire bikes. The X series, particularly the X24 and X26, are essentially electric motorcycles in e-bike clothing. They've got dual batteries, 1000 watt motors, full suspension, and an aggressive look that turns heads whether you want it or not. The honest truth with ENGWE is that these bikes, they're pretty heavy, right? So we're talking 40 plus kilograms on some models. Now, that's not a criticism. It's a product of cramming dual batteries and proper suspension into one frame. But you need to know that, of course, before you buy. If you live in an apartment block, for example, with no lift where you're going up and down the stairs, think carefully before you buy, because these bikes are not lightweight at all. Where ENGWE really shines is value. So full suspension fat tire e-bikes at this price point simply don't exist from Western brands. In my opinion, the M20, their full suspension BMX style bikes, used to sit in a price bracket dominated by $3,000 plus options from Western manufacturers, and ENGWE brought it in well under $2,000. In fact, right now, it's going for €1,299, or about $1,500. They've been aggressive with their sponsorships and marketing too, so you'll see them probably everywhere on YouTube. And that visibility, though, has given them a lot of legitimacy in a category that was previously dominated by boutique brands. And I think this company particularly best for riders who want maximum bike for minimum money, especially for off-road, mixed terrain, or simply looking like they mean business. FIIDO takes a different approach. So they're one of the more kind of polished and design-forward brands in the Chinese e-bike space. And they've built a loyal following, over 600,000 riders at last count, largely off the back of their folding e-bike lineup. They cover so many different types of e-bikes. They've got city e-bikes, folding e-bikes, lightweight carbon fiber e-bikes, touring, cargo, and mini e-bikes. The D3 Pro is their entry-level folder and one of their best sellers at around $549, and it's shifted over 50,000 units, which tells you something about the value proposition. On the other end, their C11 and C11 Pro, they're clean, they're Dutch-style city commuters with removable batteries and hydraulic brakes, with the Pro adding a torque sensor for more natural pedal feel. In fact, just last week, I was testing this exact model, the C11. Full review of that bike coming soon. The T-Series handles the heavy lifting. The T1 Pro is a multi-purpose all-terrain machine with a claimed 93-mile range, and the T2 is a family-oriented cargo bike with 4-piston hydraulic disc brakes. The main thing to watch out for with FIIDO is their after-sales support. So the customer service has historically been a bit of hit or miss depending on your region, so do check whether there's a local distributor before you buy. I think FIIDO is definitely better for urban commuters, especially those who need to fold and carry their bike regularly. HIMIWAY. So HIMIWAY has been around since 2017 and has built a really strong reputation, particularly in North America, primarily around long-range fat tire bikes. Their calling card is range, right? So where most competing e-bikes in their price bracket get you maybe 30 to 40 miles per charge, HIMIWAY consistently target about 60 to 80 miles. And that's not marketing fluff either. Independent tests do back this up. Their most popular model, the Zebra runs on a battery pack with a 400-pound payload capacity. So it's an all-terrain workhorse, fat tyres, front suspension, rear rack included out of the box. It's not subtle, it's not quiet, but it does cover ground. What's interesting is where HIMIWAY has been moving more recently though. So the A7 Pro is a full suspension urban commuter with a mid-drive motor, a torque sensor and a 720 watt LG battery, a significantly more sophisticated spec than most competitors at the price. They use name brand components throughout, so Shimano and Tektro brakes, they've got Kenda and Schwalbe tyres depending on the model, and they back it up with a 2-year warranty, which is better than most in this space. I think this company particularly is best for North American riders who want long range. That's really what they specialise in, long range. Also fat tyre versatility and name brand components without paying a super premium price. VELOTRIC. So VELOTRIC is a newer name. They launched in 2021 via Indiegogo, but they've matured quickly and are now one of the most feature-rich options in the sub $2,000 commuter e-bike category, particularly in North America. Their latest flagship is the Discovery 3, a $2,000 $1,999 comfort commuter with a spec list that punches well above its price. It has smart tuning, which adapts power output to your riding profile. It has sensor swap, so you can toggle between torque and cadence sensing modes, one-touch class switching, cruise control, a 500 lumen headlight, and an IPX6 rated waterproof frame. It's UL certified and backed by a network of over 1,200 dealer shops across the US, which is genuinely rare for a brand this young. But what VELOTRIC really does well is the complete package, right? So the app integration is good, the build quality feels premium, the design is clean, they're not trying to sell you raw power, they're selling you a refined, well-supported urban riding experience. So I think this brand is good for commuters and casual riders in the US, particularly North America, who just want maximum features and a polished experience without having to pay $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Next, we have TENWAYS. So TENWAYS is interesting because they're explicitly not trying to look like a traditional e-bike brand. They're targeting riders who want the simplicity of a regular road bike, but with electric assist. And in my opinion, they make some of the best looking e-bikes in the whole industry. So they were founded in 2021 and backed by Tencent, Hill House Capital and Alibaba. They've grown fast, primarily in Europe, by positioning themselves in the about 1,500 to 1,900 euro price range with a very focused product lineup. So their CG0600 Pro is a good example of what they're about. It uses a rear hub motor with a torque sensor for natural feeling pedal assist, a carbon belt drive instead of a chain, and an integrated hidden battery. The whole bike weighs around 15 kilograms, so it looks at first glance like a normal commuter bike. And that's the point. TENWAYS is for the rider who doesn't necessarily want to announce that they're on an e-bike. And what makes TENWAYS credible is the pedigree behind it, right? So its brand is an incubated by Trinks, a Chinese bicycle manufacturer that's been operating since 1990. So there's real kind of bicycle DNA behind the brand, not just an e-bike startup chasing a trend. Within its first year of launch, TENWAYS raised over $850,000 on Indiegogo, and it opened more than 200 physical stores and attracted investment from Tencent, Hill House Capital and Alibaba. As I mentioned earlier, that's not a brand scraping by. They're scaling fast and their product reflects it. So TENWAYS, I'd say, is for the urban European commuter who want a minimal, elegant e-bike that blends in. If you're in the US, available is more limited, but still definitely worth checking out. URTOPIA is one of the more kind of tech-forward companies in this list. So they were founded in 2021, and they went all in on carbon fiber and smart technology from day one, and it shows. So the Carbon series is built around a full carbon frame and fork, which brings the bike weight down to about 15 to 17 kilograms. That's very, very light for an e-bike. But the spec that gets the most attention is the Smart Bar, an integrated handlebar unit with GPS, 4G connectivity, fingerprint unlock, and an alarm system, onboard navigation, and a Bluetooth speaker. So you either think that's brilliant or completely unnecessary, and honestly, both reactions are valid. But what maybe matters more is the ride. So the Carbon 1 Pro uses a torque sensor, a Gates carbon belt drive, and a 250 watt rear hub motor rated to 750 watt peak. Independent testers have praised the power delivery as smooth and natural. It just feels more like a road bike with assistance than a motorized bicycle. The Carbon Classic is a more kind of stripped back and affordable version for riders who want the carbon frame without the full tech stack. URTOPIA has over 200,000 riders globally and more than 1,000 service partners across the US, which is a legitimate support network for a brand this young. The trade-off is that some proprietary components, the stem, the handlebar, the seat post, can't be swapped for third-party alternatives, which does limit your upgrade path down the line. So I think these guys best for, if you're tech oriented, you're an urban rider and fitness cyclist who wants a lightweight carbon e-bike that don't mind paying more of a premium for that level of lightweight. NIU Technologies. So a lot of people know NIU from their electric scooters, but they've expanded into the e-bikes space as well. So NIU are one of the more kind of credible Chinese electric vehicle brands globally. They're publicly listed. They've generated around $400 million in revenue in 2024 and have a proper tech-forward approach with app connectivity, GPS, and digital displays across their lineup. Now, their e-bike range targets a similar urban commuter market to TENWAYS, but with more of a kind of a scooter-influenced aesthetic. If you're already in the NIU ecosystem with one of their scooters, the e-bikes are kind of a natural extension. NIU's strength is brand legitimacy and smart tech integration. Their weakness, on the other hand, is that their e-bike lineup isn't as matured or widely distributed as their scooter range. So I think these guys, best for if you're very tech forward, if you're an urban rider, particularly those already familiar with NIU's scooter products. And then next we have YADEA. So YADEA is worth knowing because they're absolutely huge. Over 30 million people, 30 million, ride their vehicles worldwide. They're selling in over 100 countries and they have 10,000 stores globally. In terms of sheer scale, they're one of the largest electric two-wheeler companies on earth. Now, their products kind of skew more towards the electric moped and light electric scooter end of the spectrum in their home market in China, but their e-bike and electric commuter range is increasingly relevant in international markets. So if you're, for example, in Southeast Asia or parts of Europe, there's a very good chance you've seen a YADEA. You just might not have known it yet. So YADEA isn't going to win awards, in my opinion, this is my preference, for cutting edge e-bike design aimed at European cycling enthusiasts. What they offer though is very reliable vehicles at scale. They've got wide availability and competitive pricing backed by one of the most established manufacturing operations in the industry. For someone who just wants kind of a straightforward, proven product from a brand that absolutely isn't going anywhere, probably, YADEA is a solid kind of low drama option, particularly if you're based somewhere in Asia where their retail network is very, very good. So the key with e-bike brands is knowing which brand has built their products around your specific use case. So we've reviewed many of the e-bikes I talk about in this video. You can click on the end card here and here to watch those, and I will see you over there.